Let me introduce myself to you. This is who I am. No more, no less.
Sponsored by
Written in these walls are the stories that I can't explain. The story of my life, I take her home. I drive all night to keep her warm in time. It's frozen.
Hi, welcome to Seeing the Need, Finding the Solution. This is Phil McIlveen, I'm your host. This is the 2013 Stories of Healing and Hope, the 9th annual one here in Arizona, and the last 8 we're able to do in Maricopa County, as you see on your screen. You can go to www.stnaz.tv to enter, whether it's struggle or success. Tell us your story, what's going on with your home, and you can win a home makeover. You can also win Arizona Cardinals fan pack experience and some other different stuff we'll have as surprises coming in there. So make sure to check that out. You can also go to AZTV.com, look for local shows, look for the guy that's going like that, and be able to enter in that way and link up as well. You know, the last 8 years were only available in Maricopa County, and this year we're able to make it not only available statewide, but really focusing on that southern part of Arizona from Maricopa County down. So 9 counties is the focus this year, which is just a big blessing of being able to reach into that southern Arizona part where there are some really big demographic needs and open it up to as many people as possible. We have some creative and some really neat things coming up with 36,000 pounds of food coming in on a semi and some other different things. So stay tuned, kind of watch what's going on and see how you can either contribute, see how you can benefit, or you can just be a part of. Today we have some special guests today. I'm going to introduce the first one, which is Sorrel Bowman-Rogers, President and CEO of Family Service Agency. Welcome, Sorrel.
Good morning, thank you.
And Sorrel's going to be the first part of the topic on the show, but I'm also going to introduce our next guest, which is Denise Ensdorff, which is the, well, we say CSW CEO, President of Arizona Children's Association.
Good morning.
Good morning, welcome. So Sorrel, you know, I was looking at your bio, and when we have people on the show, we always ask, you know, tell us a little bit about yourselves. And you know, with Sorrel's been around for a long time in the element of where you've been, I think since 1996 as the director.
Correct.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you kind of got to Arizona Children's. Let's do it that way.
I got to Family Service Agency.
Yeah, let's tell you how you got to her company.
Yeah,
and then,
exactly.
And then we'll go back to this company.
Yeah.
You just got replaced. Your board meant to tell you that. Sorry.
No, how you got to Family Service Agency and start with that kind of role leading into the company in which you are leading.
Fortuitously, a previous board member of the agency asked me a year before the position became available if I would be interested. And I prayed on it. The timing wasn't right for me, so I declined. A year later, there came an opportunity to fix all the accounting stuff, which I can take a shoebox and make it into something that the IRS could audit without question. And so I accepted that challenge, and then a year after that, the position became open again, and I thought, you know, I can do this. And the board voted me in, and almost 18 years later, here I am. It's been a blessing.
At that time, was that your first CEO position at that time?
It was. I've held assistant or executive positions for 20 plus years.
And Family Services Agency, why don't you go ahead and give me an overview of kind of what they do? And be as open as you want. We have everything on the show from prisoner reentry to adoption to every type of element where it helps somebody that is in need. So don't hold back. I mean, this is,
No, I won't.
you get to say
Thank
whatever
you.
you want to do.
That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We were actually founded in 1902 by May Bartlett Hurd and Dwight Bancroft Hurd, the folks who founded the Hurd Museum. So we have a long history. We had the first tuberculosis hospital here in 1945. We Maricopa Medical Center was with us for some years. United Way, the city of Phoenix had us come in to spearhead an ad hoc group to bring other social service entities in, because we were the sole provider of social services through about 1935. And we've been through an iteration of name changes, but we've been Family Service Agency now for decades and decades. And we're more likened to a community mental health center kind of scenario. We don't do anything residential. We have outpatient behavioral health, like mental health services, a lot of substance abuse outpatient treatment. We do have an adoption program, which was the very first adoption program in the state, founded in 1947. We have about 50% of my staff and what we do are focused and dedicated to providing in-home services to families whose children are at immediate to high risk of abuse and neglect, so that we can reunify those families or stabilize them to keep the family unit together. And then our newest program, which is now a decade old, is community reintegration, which focuses on reintegrating felons back into the community.
Oh, what a blessing to be a part of that reunification process.
Oh, it's wonderful.
You know, you focus on something on the reintegration of felons back into the community,
Yes.
Which has a huge place in my heart. In Arizona, if you were to look up some statistics or do some research, I think it's about 1 out of every 5 people have been arrested in the state of Arizona, number one. But number two, some of the, in the field that I work at, some of the most talented people and people have records, you know, whether it is for whatever reason that it may be. And rehabilitation is something that is really near and dear to my heart. When you're talking about reintegration of the felons, or that aspect of somebody who has had a felony and is now trying to get back on their life and lead a life that's worth living, let's talk about that kind of employer incentives and different stuff as it relates to felons with you.
There are actually quite a few employer incentives, but one of the things that is really worth mentioning is the lack of education and knowledge that employers have around asking individuals at the hiring stage if they have a record. The state of Minnesota just approved that private employers now cannot ask that.
Really?
Yes, and Target has taken the leadership role and has now removed that question from their pre-screening employment application.
So they're not allowed to ask, have you been convicted of a felony? Or
You can't even ask if you've been arrested. Arrest does
Really?
not
Right.
always turn into a conviction. Sadly, many public records will indicate the arrest and the charge, but then they will not show the disposition of the case.
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
employers will automatically assume
Sure.
that the person should not continue to be trusted.
Years ago, when I would fill out an application, and I always had an element of working in that corporate admin or that executive type of stuff, or not, you know, and they had the question on there, and obviously I've been in recovery for a number of years, you know, it's no secret on the show, so they would ask, have you ever been convicted of a felony? And I'd always put no, and then they'd put why, and they'd ask that question, and I'd put good lawyer, and that would, you know, it was enough to get the next interview, because they would figure out, well, let me talk to this guy, but
Exactly.
no, just kidding.
Yeah.
What a blessing to be able to have that off. So you're saying Target has taken the lead on that. How did you find out about that information, where now here's a company going, hey, wait a minute, we're gonna go after this and implement this out?
The governor of Minnesota signed that into law fairly recently, and I'm sorry, I don't know the exact date. It came across my web information yesterday, actually, and it's verifiable, certainly. The other thing employers need to consider is, does the felony directly relate to the job they're hiring for?
Correct.
For example, if somebody has been convicted of embezzlement, the bank is really entitled to say, no, you cannot be a bank teller. But if somebody's being convicted of embezzlement and they apply for a forklift job in a warehouse, their conviction in no way relates to the position that they are recruiting for. So the EEOC actually has put this whole thing a little higher up on their radar. However, applicants for positions who have been turned down because they have a felony are incredibly reluctant to go to the EEOC and make a claim.
Sure. And not only that, you know, there comes with an element in personal. One thing probably I haven't shared with you, I used to sit on the Arizona Board of Reentry years ago when they started the 2-in-1 task force.
Yes.
So, and when you're on that type of aspect and with that great number of people with the wisdom in the areas in which you all work on a daily basis, here I was just kind of new into the game and kind of learning and different stuff, but all the barriers that people go through when they have a felony, and it's not when they come out of a incarceration aspect or a hospital aspect, whatever it may be, you know, where do they go first, how they get transportation, how they get a license, you know, all the little tiny things, and then the element of really getting up to the point of getting a job. There are so many barriers, which is kind of nice to see that come full force against that. But as long as you reduce the barriers, it allows them for more employment type of aspect.
Exactly, and some of the incentives directly for employers, we do provide a federal bond at no charge to the applicant or the employer. It's the value is minimal, it's $5,000 and it's good for 6 months, but it gives an element of comfort to the employer.
So let me ask a question.
Yes.
Obviously, the person that you're doing this bond for and assisting them through the elements of maybe obtaining employment, they obviously have to be getting services from you?
That is correct.
And how does somebody go about finding out if they can qualify for services with you in that area? I mean, I know you get referrals and different things like that, but is there a way if somebody's watching TV and goes, hey, wait a minute, I'm a felon, I'm also getting, I'm in the system somehow, you know, there's always different areas, but
correct.
What would be the proper way of somebody going, hey, wait, how do I hook up with this lady that is really involved in this, that really cares about this area of life? How do they do that?
They can call our main number directly, 602-264-9891, or they can go on our website. The receptionist will understand if you ask for the prisoner program, the reentry program, the employment jobs, whatever vernacular you wish to use, however you want to put it. Our receptionist will know how to get you connected.
And that website, I believe, is fsaphoenix.org, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. You know, you talked about incentives for employers. You got a bond aspect of it, and I can tell you this much: there's nothing even more better than somebody who is so willing to give everything they got. But at the same time, we're talking about maybe there's a community benefits as well to get felons reintegrated back into the community too. We're going to go talk a little bit about that, if you would. What's some of the benefits to the community?
Interestingly enough, when most of us view this program, the majority of society thinks, well, I'm not going to help those people. They got themselves into trouble. They did it themselves. They deserve everything they get. But my Pollyanna view about 10 years ago was, that's not right. The consequence of the crime is jail time. But society continues to make these people pay time and time again for putting up those barriers to employment, housing, et cetera, et cetera. So in all fairness, my own board of directors didn't really embrace the concept of this program when I dreamt it up, or I prefer to say when I was the architect of it. But when I did further research, I don't take no very well. When I did further research, I did what a lot of politicians would do, and I put a spin doctor on it. However, I did follow through with my commitment to the community.
Let me hold you off
Yes.
right there. We'll come back with what you're talking about with the commitment to the community, and then we'll roll into this young lady over here. We'll be right back after this commercial break. We'll be right back with Sorrel, and we'll be right back with Denise. See you in a couple minutes.
Introduce myself to you. This is who I am. No more, no less.
There's no stigma or discrimination against the heart, the liver, the kidney, even the gallbladder. Doesn't even have a job.
Yesterday, depression was kept in the dark,
And bipolar disorder was your best friend's mother's problem.
but the tide is turning.
We're stopping the stigma.
We're coming out.
Our goal is to make the discussion of mental dis-ease cool and trendy.
No kidding?
Me too. No kidding. Me too.
No kidding.
Me too.
It's time we gave the all-American brain some peace of mind.
Spend all your time waiting for that second chance, for a break that would make it okay.
We are 100% committed to preventing suicide.
To feel not good enough.
We represent 100%.
We represent 100%. We represent 100%.
Need
We represent 100%.
Oh, beautiful release. Memories.
This one goes out to the man who minds for miracles. This one goes out to the ones in need. This one goes out to the sinner and the cynical. This ain't about no apology. We weren't born to follow. Come on and get up.
Tune in to AZTV at 3:30 on Sunday afternoons for your chance to win the 9th annual Home Makeover Giveaway, brought to you by Seeing the Need, Finding the Solution. Hi, welcome back to Seeing the Need, Finding the Solution, again with the 9th annual Home Makeover Giveaway, Arizona Cardinals Fan Pack Giveaway. Go to stnaz.tv to enter to win. Submit your story, what's going on in your life, whether it's struggle or success. Let us know what's going on, why you would want a home makeover, why you would need new furniture. We got the entries coming in. We'll be reading those a little bit on another show, but get your story in. There's a winner every year, and it's always the one that never thinks they're going to get it. We're back with Sorrel Bowman-Rogers. We were talking about the benefits to the community, and let's talk a little bit about that benefit real quick before we introduce Denise.
Thank you. An incarcerated individual costs the community approximately $25,000 a year. An individual who is free and productive in the community contributes to the community through purchasing power by sales tax. They're paying income tax. They're perhaps off welfare. They may no longer be on food stamps. They may no longer need Section 8 housing, and that frees up those resources for other individuals.
That's awesome. And for me personally, since I get to host the show, bottom line is, you know what? They're people. That's the way,
Totally.
bottom line, you got to look at it. They're mothers, fathers, daughters,
Yes,
neighbors, sisters, uncles, aunts. The reality of it is that everybody deserves a chance. I would venture to say, and I had a conversation with somebody a long time ago, there's a lot of people who haven't been caught for a lot of things in life, that if they were, they would have the same exact thing that follows them. So please check out the website of fsaphoenix.org. Get some information, get hooked up. We'll be back in a minute with Sorrel, but Denise Ensdorff, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Ensdorff, sorry.
Yes.
Arizona Children's Association.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit. I know you guys are huge, so tell us a little bit about you.
But we started off very small, 1912, so similar age. Started off as a children's home in Tucson, Arizona. And over the last 100+ years, we've evolved into one of the largest statewide providers now of behavioral health services and child welfare services. So we are primarily a children's agency.
And you got degrees all over. I mean, you're able to work in Colorado, Arizona, a whole bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah, I lived in Colorado for over 20 years and worked in the field. I've been in the field since 1985 and moved here just over 8 years ago.
And we had the pleasure of obviously going out to your facility.
Yes.
Out in East Mesa, Apache Junction, I think, in that area too, and meeting with some of your staff. And I also have personal knowledge of friends who are getting services through you.
Okay.
Amazing work you do in a number of different areas. As Sorrel had talked about, you know, being able to be part of that reunification process of people who may not be in the best positions, could be part of the DES system, could be part of protective services, could be a part of any part of that, may not have any parents at all because of the situations. And it could be even part of people that are young and young kids having some serious high risk, meaning you know, that they're displaying behaviors that are very harmful to themselves and to others. So real quick, where I want to start is, you know, the needs on the local community when you're talking about providing that trauma type of informed services. So let's talk about that.
Providing trauma-informed care services basically talks about approaching the child and family from a trauma-informed frame of mind. That you go into discussions with them wanting to hear what they have actually been through and what they've experienced up until this point versus what's wrong with you. So from the get-go, you're having a different conversation. And not only having that conversation with the child or adolescent, but also with mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, because they've come into this office with the child with similar experiences. So it's about having that, that ability to stop and listen to what they've actually been through. We know now through many studies that trauma impacts people tremendously. It can even impact brain development of a child. And sometimes what we often see as attention deficit kind of symptoms are often behaviors that are in reaction to trauma that's been experienced.
You know, you're in 15 counties.
Yes.
Which also means you serve probably at least 8 tribal communities, if not more. And I know personally from going on public forums and doing the stuff that I do in those 8 counties for the REBA, that Regional Behavioral Health Authority, for those of you from Iowa and that are here for the weather. You know, when you're talking about having that aspect and impact on the families and the children, that's not always an easy task, especially in those rural areas where even cultural aspect or that cultural diversity where things are so separate. And now they're even coming into a mode of even having special programs of family services, meaning of the person who is getting services and trying to give that counseling to them directly. Which you can't get to them unless the person who's getting services allows you to. So what a job!
We make it complicated, don't we?
It is, and you know, Arizona is a very unique state when it comes to stuff like that as well. When you're talking about in those services in all the 15 counties, and you're talking about access to care and all that kind of stuff, talk about the national initiative that you guys were a part of.
Over the last year, we were a part of a national initiative that's sponsored by the National Council for Community Behavioral Health Care. And their goal was to increase access to care to behavioral health services for all people in need. So we joined on that bandwagon, received professional guidance to do a whole redo of how we do things, and looked at all of our processes from the time that we get a phone call for the help to the time that we actually provide the service.
So speaking of how you do services, take a look at this video and we'll see exactly a little bit how they do stuff. We'll be right back.
Guided by a beating heart, I can't tell where the journey will end, but I know where to start.
Hello, I'm Randy Hansen. I'm the program director for all of our Simpatico programs statewide here at Arizona's Children's, and welcome.
Well, life will pass me by if I don't open up my eyes, so that's fine by me.
In terms of success stories, I've actually worked with some kids, adolescents, who've actually been in our foster care programs as well as our behavioral health programs, who've come back after they've turned 18 and have been enrolled in college, who've been really making a difference in the community, who've actually requested to come back and mentor for the kids who are currently in our services. So for me, that's a huge success, to see a child who's gone through services here at Arizona's Children and come back and want to give back a portion of that to the kids who are currently involved in services.
And as you see the information on your on the screen at arizonaschildren.org, which is 1-800-944-7611, and that does not even do a portion of what all that you guys do. Let me let you continue on that element of that initiative that you're part of as well too.
So at the end of this initiative, our goal was to be able to provide same-day access to care. Generally, prior to being involved in this process, someone would call to bring their child in for help, and the appointment to come in for intake would be scheduled 3 to 6 days out. We would have at least 30% no-show rate. You know, they're calling when something is going on and they need help now. So when you schedule that appointment out, they're more likely to not show up. So now when someone calls, if they call today, they can come in today, if that's convenient for them. If it's not, they can come in tomorrow, whatever works best.
About 30 seconds real quick, and I always do this.
Okay.
Sorrel, if there's one thing that you could look over at the camera and tell the community this holiday season, what would it be? If you had one thing to tell them. For the felon out there who's looking for a job, or for the person out there.
I would tell the community to support all individuals and open your heart and have Christmas 365 days a year, not just on the Lord's Day.
Awesome. Denise, as well, if there's one thing that you would want to get out to the community this holiday season, what would it be?
It would be that we continue to be in need of foster care parents. So anyone who is interested in becoming foster care or even wants to talk about it to see if it's something that would be a good match for them, we would love to have that discussion.
And with that, before I introduce and close out, do you know that if every church in Arizona Phoenix metropolitan area adopted one child, it would actually eliminate the adoptive foster network? So keep that into thought if you're a church out there or somebody within a church. If they adopted one child, it would eliminate the whole system. Something's wrong. We have Sorrel Bowman-Rogers as well. Thank you so much from FSA, Family Services Agency, and Denise Ensdorff as well from Arizona Children's Association. We'll be back next Sunday. Go to the websites that are on your screen, get involved, and foster a parent and learn how to get a job and give back as well, and celebrate that Christmas at 365 days a year. Fa la 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 la. See you next Sunday.